Namaskar, welcome to Radio Karishma. Today is my great honor and privilege to welcome on the airwaves of Radio Karishma an icon who has been my idol, has been and continue to be an inspiration for many across the world. Through her work, whether when she became the first Indian female tennis player who was qualified for Junior Wimbledon or who became the first Indian female police officer, or someone who revolutionized the Indian jails through her inspiring programs in Tihar jail during her tenure there, or someone who showed how to govern a union territory, or someone who pens down her very valuable experiences in several books. There are very few personalities in the world जिनका कि सिर्फ नाम ही काफी है. Dr. Kiran Bedi is our special guest today, and we will be chatting with Kiran ji. But before that, I want to make a personal note about how Kiran ji's leadership style, one specific attribute, that is fearlessness and fairness, that has had a huge influence on me during my work in media and community organizational work, where I have to deal with many people on a regular basis. I have drawn a huge inspiration from Kiran ji's leadership style time and again. So thank you, Kiran ji. Now, the wait is over. Let's listen to this very special interview with none other than Dr. Kiran Bedi, here only on Radio Karishma.
RadioKarishma.com, and I am very honored and very privileged. Thank you so much, Kiran ji, for giving us your precious time. Warm welcome on Radio Karishma.
So grateful to you for giving me the opportunity through my friend Ratnesh Kumar.
Yes, absolutely. I want to mention Ratnesh Kumar ji, who is a professor in Iowa University. उनकी वजह से ये इंटरव्यू आज हो पा रहा है, and मैं अपने रेडियो करिश्मा के सभी लिसनर्स को इस मौके का फायदा उठाकर बताना चाहती हूँ कि रत्नेश जी न सिर्फ हमारे बहुत ही लॉयल और रेगुलर लिसनर हैं, but at the same time he's a big supporter of Radio Karishma and actually the inspiration behind some great work that we have been able to put up together, जैसे कि हमारी first radio series थी अलख निरंजन. So thank you so much, Ratnesh ji, for being there and for all your help.
Yeah, you know, it's a lot of fun, So, doing all these things, interactions, I was also interacting with ID Kanpur Alumni Association, and that really brings a new dimension that, and keeps the life more interesting, and you can contribute in different ways in different capacities. So thanks for being there, and thanks Kiranji to be so graceful to accept our invitation to do this interview.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ratnesh. So Kiranji, my first question would be, that's your ability to turn the stones or rocks thrown towards you into stepping stones. You have been thrown into so many different situations, and each time you actually created a new record and added a new feather in your hat. How does one cultivate such attribute with experience, or you think it's an inborn quality? Please give us your insight as to how to create that kind of positive and creative conscience.
All I can say is that it's about conscious living. It's a conscious growth. It's a growth with awareness. It's also growth with a purpose. And lucky are those who can find their purpose younger in age. Since I found my purpose at a pretty young age, as a teenager, I had found my purpose. It's like people get spiritual very early and they become saint towards. See, they rise above to become saints, or they have a turning point. Saints are those who grow, or they have a turning point. So it is all about either you have a turning point or you grow. I think I found my purpose for not being one of the crowd of women. What was the crowd of women during my time? Crowd of women were all homemakers, dependent homemakers, less educated, and their primary goal was to give birth to sons, and finally get married with a very heavy penalty or migration out of their parents' home. That was a crowd which I was witnessing, a large crowd of women who were actually, even if they were getting them literate and educated, skill development was not the issue at that time. Either you've gone into a medical field or you've gone into being a nurse or a teacher, or engineering was not the profession at that time. And government and policing was out of the question. Few women were making it to the Indian administrative service, and very few were making it to the Indian foreign service. I found my purpose early, that I'll not be one of the crowd. This is not acceptable to me. This is not going to be my life of dependency. So I think once I'd grown out of the fact, like a man grows up, the man grows up with the feeling that he's going to be a provider. He doesn't have to be told, you have to be a provider. He doesn't have to be told. He naturally grows to be a provider, to self look after himself. I also became like that. I naturally grew to be a provider to myself, provider to others. I grew up like the boys were growing. And the credit to my upbringing, like the boys were growing, goes back to my parents. So the environment made me, and I'm very fortunate that I imbibed the environment in a positive way, because I could have taken the negative way as well.
Yeah.
I could have complained, or I could have fallen a prey and saying I have an opposite, or that's not the facilitation. But my home was a facilitator. My parents were a facilitator, and my world was complete. When my home was a facilitator, my world was complete. I was not dependent on what others think, what others say. Why? Because this was the education in the family, and I had faith in what my parents were giving me. And I also saw the disadvantages of being part of the crowd.
Yeah.
The crowd was abhorrent to me. It was not acceptable to me. It was not acceptable to be part of the crowd. I rejected it as a teenager. That's why you see, I have short hair. I cut my hair at age 14. For what? To play quick tennis, to be free, to have bath 3 times, and no time lost in untangling my tangled hair because I was a tennis player. And they would get drenched. They would get drenched. They would get wet, and they would come and hit the plait would come and hit my eye when I'm playing, and then leave a spray of sweat into my eyes, and I'm competing in tennis. Why do I need it? So I probably was one of the very rare girls who had a hairstyle like mine. And this is not a design. It was a need-based hairstyle. I don't need to curl. The sun will dry it, and the air will comb it. It was that kind of so I think I owe it to this upbringing that so any blockade which came my way was a stepping stone to learn more, to become understand. So it's a life of awareness. When you're carving your own road less traveled, or almost carving your own new road, there will be pebbles there would be forests, there will be blockades, there will be no paths. You may have to create your own. And I was happy to create my own, because I was picking up the mental tools to do it. And what were my mental tools? The positive energy which I was getting from my family, education which I was getting from my school, college, teachers, and my own home environment, which was growing in my own mind with a purpose. And I was now impatient to be self-reliant. So that's why at the age of 20, moment I finished with masters in political science with top honors, I got the first job straight away, an offer to teach at a Khalsa College for Women, Amritsar. And I started to earn. I was on a scholarship prior to that, and immediately started to earn. I was achieving my purpose, but you see, I was impatient. And the impatience was driving me harder to achieve that goal. And I think that is I think I was blessed with a very good attitudinal and positive environment.
So you're very humble. You're saying, you have very good upbringing and everything, but you were the one who was doing it. So, you had that conviction and willpower to continue regardless, where you were sent. Sometimes I can understand that in a particular department when you were working and you were doing so great, and suddenly you were told, leave that department and go somewhere else. But there also you created wonders. So that is not easy. I mean, what we see in our regular life or around, even in the professional life we have seen, it's very difficult to adapt, in places where, you didn't want to go, but you are there. And all of a sudden you just actually, in fact, you are doing better than what they thought you would do. So that is something, you deserve a big clap and a big crown for that, for doing that very successfully again and again and again in your life, I would say.
You see, in life, what you're comfortable with what you're comfortable with, what you're trained in, what you're habituated in. If you continue to do that, it's easy. In fact, to turn it around is difficult.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if being physically fit is a habit, and if you stop doing this, that's what is troublesome. Not keeping up the fitness, but stopping your fitness. That's difficult. Similarly, if you are a marathoner and if you stop running, practicing, it's difficult because you feel you lost out on something. I loved my work and I continue to love my work.
Yeah.
That's why I made a good student, because I love books. I loved my school. My schooling was not a pressure. I loved reading books. And every time I got a high because I learned something new from a geography book or a history book or a civics book. Yeah, I loved literature. I was a humanities student. I was not a science student. I was a very strong, I loved all liberal arts. I'm a liberal arts student. And I loved every subject. And I used to be an advanced reader of my books. And that habit got cultivated because my mom would get me the books of the next class before the class would begin. And the summer vacation, which we had, those 3 months summer vacation, 2.5 months, we used to have wonderful 2 months of vacation. I used to read up the books out of curiosity in advance. What is in the book?
Yeah.
Isn't that great? See, I was an advanced learner out of curiosity. What am I going to learn in my next standard? So if you have a curiosity to learn, that curiosity, if you stop it and kill it, I think that's when you start work. But if it's your habit to be curious to learn and being a student your rest of your life, to be remaining fitness and be in charge and being in command of you're habituated. You're habituated to work in a particular style. I think the problem is if you decide to change it and reverse it. For me, nothing's been this difficult because work has been growing up, evolving. I've been raising my level because that's my habit. When I was competing with my tennis, that's why sports for a young girl or a boy is very helpful. What was I doing? I was lifting myself for every match. I was preparing for every match. I was strategizing for every tennis match. I was traveling for every match, preparing myself, right? So I think that now that sports habit of every time, you can't rest on your oars. I've done my fitness a month ago and I've had jalebis and samosas and laddus meanwhile, and now I can go and win. No, your preparation is a daily preparation.
Yeah.
You have to keep prepared. If you like playing tennis, if you like competing, I had a choice to give up. I don't want to play tennis. I don't want to compete. I love the travel. I love the adventure. I love the trophy. I loved it to see Kiran Bedi, India's national junior champion. I love my Bedi surname splashed all over. I loved all this. I love my dad, mommy, happy that that they are there playing. Yeah. So I loved all this. I continued to love it. It became a habit. So why should I change? And it's called, when you want to be a champion, you don't change a winning game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why should I change winning habits? Why should I? Unless they are useless. Of course, you can add to good habits, but why change good habits? So work habits, communicating habits, preparation habits, library habits, dressing habits is the same. Food habits. So I'm not boring. Believe me, I love everything what I do every day because there's something new to do every day, and every day is a new day. So that's who I am. So you asking me, I did better and better. Well, that's my habit to learn more, to improve more, and make good friends, learn from them, take up their good habits. I am a learner. I love this. In fact, that's what life is about.
So you've been first, you've been pioneer. Which one is your favorite first achievement of your long list of first things that you've done?
I think the most prestigious for India of my first is they became the first woman in the world to be the civilian police advisor to Kofi Annan at the United Nations. To my mind, this is the most prestigious because other first is okay, it's national. But what became the first ever international first? Indian woman as a police advisor to the Secretary General of the United Nations in peacekeeping operations, which is predominantly a male world.
Yeah.
And that's where there were not Indian men. They all, I large 2-3 colleagues, Indian colleagues, rest of them all from all over the world. And working with them where they're culturally different, somewhere the language is different, geography is different, attitudes are different, work habits are different. And then working as a team of international and they're top cops. They're not used to being led by a woman. And I was the shortest among all these tall men. They were, Norwegians were 6'5", 6'5". Norwegians were 6'5". Norwegians are very tall, right? They were very tall. And I had to really look up to them to speak to them. And they could say, but how do I get them accepted as a police advisor? And number two, at that time when I went, Indian police wasn't at the top of the quality, or India wasn't on very high level. You see, today the way India's branding, today the way India's branded, India was not branded like this in 2003. India's branded now in 2020s, late 90s. Now India's branding. Now people are wanting a tag of saying made in India, made in India. Earlier it was not made in India. But I was groomed in India. I was made in India. And I was very proud of the fact that the world was accepting. The United Nations had asked for me. Actually, I'm told that I was asked, I was a pick for the police advisor. My gender became my asset. My policing experience became my asset, and my prisons experience became my asset. My authorship became an asset. I had written books, my PhD, my law degree, my prisons assignment, and my policing reforms, and my Magsaysay Award. See, all came together. The Ramon Magsaysay Award, which I had got the Asian Nobel Prize, it's equal to. All this was all in one. And that's a kind of chemistry or mixture they were looking for, amalgamation of prisons, policing, community service, and my 2 NGOs which I was running. So where do you get one person? Where's got the prisons, got the police, got the NGO work, got a doctorate, got a law degree as an author. And traveled worldwide, and also been a tennis player around the world. So in fact, I believe they had already searched out for me, and they connected with the government of India saying, can we have this woman? And I was not keen to go because I'm not very fond of being overseas. I think Ritnesh would tell me I'd run back home. I'm very happy with India, with my family, support systems, and the work I do. But I said, why should I be in exile? Because I'll have no support systems. How will I do so much? And I took do you know what? I took my housekeeper with me. So you continue to run my home. I want my Indian food, and I want my everything in the right place. I took my Indian homemaker. They gave me the G4 visa because I said I wanted. So I took her at my cost. I paid her at my cost and kept her with me because for me, time was precious. How I lived there, quality of life. I don't want to do house management, housekeeping when I can read and travel and do and write and many other things. So I spent money to keep my housekeeper, and traveled around the world and wrote. I continue to write even columns, fortnightly columns from there. So that's what I'm saying. I think that's what I'm most proud of.
So is there any common thread in all your achievements, besides, of course, you doing it? What was the common thread that you yourself, you can pinpoint that, whatever I have done, this would be the common, aspect of it?
Well, the one which comes to the top of my mind is a tremendous sense of conscientious responsibility. I'm very conscientious. Once I take up responsibility, then I own it. It's ownership of what I have. Then it's mine. I belong to it. And there's no distraction. So I belong to it. Then it becomes my priority. Prison work, my priority. Prisoners belong to me. I am for them. If it's policing, people belong to me. I am for them. If it's policing. So I think whatever I pick up, then it's a very high level of conscientiousness that work becomes my worship. Work is worship. I look at work as worship. For me, work is not a duty. It's not a job. It's not a salary. Many jobs which I did, many works I did, I tell you, I probably would have done it without a salary also because I loved the content of the work. I don't need to have paid for it. I would have done it at 1 rupee, because it was the content, the purpose of that which gave to my life was very high, was just cannot be evaluated in terms of money.
So nice.
Similarly, the teaching job, which I started with, all students belong to me. I used to play with them, and I used to take them, make them teachers, that you teach me. So you see, I was a teenager with them. So I have not stopped being young at heart, energetic at heart.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
It's a conscientiousness and sense of responsibility for what I am, where I am, what for.
Yes, sir. It's a huge inspiration, Kiranji, I must say that. Well, you were just talking about that how you were short in the stall men in that organization, but tell us your experience when you joined the Indian Police Service, where you were the very first woman. Was it difficult at that time? What was that experience like?
Well, I was in the general knowledge books when I entered the Indian Police Service. So all the students, all the officers who had come reading my profiles, so they were looking up to me, because I was an Asian tennis champion.
Okay.
I was already an Asian tennis champion when I entered. See, these sports made my entry, I think, very honorable, because my colleagues knew who I was. I was a somebody. I was already a celebrity, and they were looking up to me. I was a number 1 in academics. I was an Asian tennis champion, physically very fit, right? And very professional and purposeful. And I was married, I was settled. So there was nothing, no distractions around.
Yeah.
Very focused for what I'd come, and with the real purpose, what have I come for? So, and I love doing whatever I do. I think I made friends there. There were no envious around. My male colleagues rallied around me. They loved the fact that this batch is historical, batch of 25. By the time, in fact, I'm a silver jubilee batch of 25th of the IPS batch. My colleagues were just thrilled that they have a woman with that and who's being a part of the whole team. So there was no competition amongst us. They just loved it. And I enjoyed being with them. See, because for me, this was not a new world. I'd been playing with boys as a tennis player. I was traveling with the boys. I was competing with the boys. So it was not a sudden change of a world.
Yeah.
That is where I've always said girls must play, go play everywhere, because when you play, the world opens up much more. And of course, you time manage to study as well.
Yeah. But I'm sure for you, it was not difficult, but was it difficult for them taking orders from a woman officer?
Later on, when I started to get posted,
yeah,
I think the men took the time, but the manner in which I communicated, they did not take time. I wasn't ordering. I was teaming up immediately. Team spirit was a very important management tip, and it came naturally for me. I wasn't ordering. I was saying, let's go, not saying you go. Let's go. Come, let's do it together. And on the contrary, I told them, you know more than I know, because you are so many years of service. I've just entered the service. Aap mujhe dikhao. Show me the way. Show me how you do it. I want to learn. Oh, they all made me learn. Yeah. They loved it. The fact that the senior, who happens to be, because I've entered the Indian Police Service in the middle, while they've grown in service, I valued their experience. I was respectful to them. I was never unkind. I appreciated them. And on the contrary, I tried to understand what I can do for them as a person who is in a position to do. In fact, they found in me an ally. They didn't take long to accept, because it's the way I dealt with them, the way I worked with them. In fact, I celebrated all festivals in the police stations, celebrated my birthdays and theirs in the police station, not home, in the police. Families, welfare, right there. So I connected with the families. So I think that's a woman in me, which became an advantage.
Yeah, it's not just for women. I think this is an example even for men leaders as well. I mean, very rarely you see even they may give orders, but not everybody can earn the respect of the subordinates. And it's a great example that you're talking about. I hope even everybody you can do that, in their respective fields. You were a police officer, then after years you became a governor. Suddenly the tables were turned. How different was that? And how challenging or difficult was that?
I think that's been the best part of my career.
Okay.
Being a Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry was just a sense of total fulfillment because I could work all directions. Earlier, it was focused. Whether it was prisons, it was focused. Whether it was policing, it was crime prevention and detection focused. Law and order focused. Narcotics focused. Peacekeeping focused. But peacekeeping was also very large scale. That was an international scale. But but you couldn't go deeper because you were a supervisor from distant place called New York, right? In this case, you're hands-on, you're sitting in Pondicherry. Yeah. And you're working with people, and you're working with rank and file, and you're working with all departments.
Yeah.
You may not be working with colleagues who worked with you before, but they're all from the service. And I just loved it. I was at my best, if you ask me, and I enjoyed every bit of it. I have not let a single day just pass by to say, okay, pass ho jayega. Every year, every day of the a few months short of 5 years, every day, including a Sunday, had a reason, had a meaning. I never got tired there. I never got tired and never got exhausted. I never had a weekend to myself. I never took any leave because I just loved serving people. So people warmed up to me so well, and I did, because there was so much to do for them. Why? And by the way, I had great hostility from the politicians. So I had two extremes. I had love and respect from the people, and I had animosity from the politicians. And they had their own reasons for animus behavior, because my getting proximity to the people was actually hurting them. They thought that was their monopoly.
Yeah.
And to mislead them was their monopoly. I broke that monopoly of them misleading them and hijacking the money which belonged to the people. That's where they were very hostile. But I knew why they were hostile, because you were eating into their bread and butter as their bread and their sweets and their God knows what all they do with it. So I understood that. I said, obviously, I don't expect you, but I gave them an opportunity. And I said, look, if we work together, we can turn this union territory in 6 months' time to be a role model of a union territory, role model of governance. Come join hands. And had they done it, they would have earned their own recognition. I would have given them the credit, and they would have won the elections, which they lost on my return. Yeah. They lost it very badly. Had they joined hands with me, they would have got re-elected, would have earned credits, and probably got international fame, because I would have offered them the governance model, which was so simple then. Had they joined me, hands, we would have turned around Pondicherry to be a role model of good governance. They lost an opportunity. And on the contrary, but it took me longer because I had to slog it through. I had to slug it. I had to slugfest with, because every time I would tell a bureaucrat to do this, they will call the same bureaucrat not to do it. So the bureaucrat was in quandary who to listen to. Some turned around and got on my side. The others continued to sabotage. So I had all kinds of mixtures. So it was like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. What if all the 3 steps had walked together? We would have created a model of good governance. This is exactly what's been documented in my book called Fearless Governance. That's why I've documented that book of 5 years of work in fearless governance, so that people, it's history documented how you can provide good governance within the same resources sometimes.
I used to follow your every video every morning from Puducherry that you used to post on Instagram.
So one question I had, you said every day was a new reason. was there a kind of a feedback mechanism that was providing that reason, or this was forward thinking that this would be the next agenda item? How was those new reasons popping up on your plate on a day-to-day basis in every new reason?
Because I was always thinking on my feet. I was always on my feet. The weekend rounds were always on my feet. And the open house in the Puducherry Raj Nivas was thinking on my feet. It was a people's feedback. So here, 4 days a week, they had 2 hours open house in Raj Nivas where people could come on first come, first serve, take a token and come and meet me. And every grievance, any ideas, any issues, they would talk to me. So it was an open house, documented. Then I was reaching out to the people, seeing problems for myself. And when you see a problem, you get ideas, you get solutions. And then we had a grievance redressal system where the WhatsApp was open, emails were open, control rooms were open. We were all directions. We were getting ideas and problems and issues from all directions. We did not lose out a single direction, single tool of communication closed. All were open. And we had a great team to analyze and document it.
Nice.
It was a fantastic system of feedback system. Feedback and idea generation. That's why we were moving very fast in solutions providing. Water-rich Puducherry, where a dry Puducherry became water-rich, all by ideas and going by feet on ground. And people's help, not by government of India, government of Puducherry help. It was by donor-driven. So these are the things which happened because I was accessible on the grounds, trying to see things, co-opt people and collaborate.
Yeah,
Collaboration.
Yeah.
Thank you for that insight.
Brilliant as always, Kiranji. Absolutely. Very wonderful. Every time, every role that you have played, you've been actually thrown into so many times. That has taught us every time, they're like brilliant examples that how one should lead. In fact, you have changed a lot for Indian women for what you did and how you led and continue to lead. But then there have been instances of things being made very difficult for you time to time. What actually went through your mind and in your heart at that time, and how did you go about those managing those problems or hindrances?
Well, prior to the hostility I encountered in Puducherry, I encountered hostility during a Delhi police crime control days. There was a particular profession which was at my throat. There was a particular profession, let me not name that profession, because I also belong to that profession in a way. So they were at my throat for having arrested a particular person of that profession. And they said, this officer has to be suspended for having arrested that person of that profession. They think that profession was above the law. It didn't matter to me. I did not suspend anybody wrongly. I've never done injustice. I have never in my life done injustice knowingly. Whether it's my colleague, junior colleague, who I'm responsible towards, or people. Never done injustice to serve my own purpose or to get out of a situation. Never once. So this was the time when I was under pressure to suspend an officer for having arrested a particular person of a profession. And they said, how could you dare do that? And suspend this officer, otherwise we don't know. So for 90 days in India, 90 days, because of this, 90 days, there was a national strike. And for years together, the whole thing is a big story. It's written in my book called I Dared. If you read the chapter, it's there. It's a big chapter. I'm not mentioning still the profession because they're not here to counter me. So I would say it went on years as litigation. It snowballed into so many things. It went to lathi charges. It went to so many things. A lot of accusations. And I had to defend myself in person in the Supreme Court because nobody from that profession defended me. They said, we're not going to defend. They isolated me. They ostracized me, saying, we don't need to defend her. Let her be punished. I had to be in person. And thank God my law profession came in handy. And my family stood by. And the core team, which worked with me during that crisis, stayed together. Nobody abandoned anybody.
Yeah.
And for years, I had to fight this battle. All in all, my promotion also was held back. My promotion as my next rank was held back because of these measures. But it did not deter me. It did not reduce my enthusiasm of my service. It did not reduce. In fact, my promotion had been held back when I was IG prison. It didn't hold back. I gave my everything to the prison. At that time, my promotion was held back. I continue to give my maximum to the prison because prisoners have not done anything to not get the best out of me. And at one stage was when my juniors were promoted and I was not. Similarly, when there was a turn to become the police commissioner of Delhi, by virtue of my seniority and merit, which is on record, I was held back. I was not given that position of being the police commissioner of Delhi. Delhi police would have had the first woman, and maybe in the world over, a woman as a police commissioner. The few people who were hell-bent, knowing that I'm not going to carry forward any illegal or irregular decisions, they held me back. So what did I do? Instead of complaining, fretting, and fuming and I just rescued my 2.5 years and I set myself free. I said, okay, you've not given me this work. I would have worked 24/7. You set me free. It's not by my doing that I've not made it to the police commissioner. That's your decision. Oh, you suffer it. So that's it. So I set myself free, and nature had opened up many other doors for me. So I would say there have been huge hostilities, but I moved on, took voluntary retirement, and set myself free to achieve other things. So I think it's been an attitudinal response. Rather than reacting, I continue to act for more doors, for better doors to open. And they did.
Yeah, but the loss was of the country, of the place where you couldn't serve. They couldn't have you. That was the biggest loss for them. And I still feel that Delhi deserved you in any which way, even as chief minister. And someday, hopefully, we'll see you as governor of Delhi.
We have a very good governor of Delhi right now. I think he's doing the right way and the right work. And I think he's the right person for the right job at the moment. So good. I hope he lasts longer there.
Yeah. So growing up, you were my idol, and the other idol also was Kapil Dev, a sports person. Very recently, he got into this controversy a little bit, and I don't know why he got into that when he was trolled for saying what was the right thing actually. When somebody asked, how do you handle the pressure, and so he said that there is no place for pressure when there is passion, and then he was trolled for that. So how do you react to that? What would you say about today's, I would say that reaction to this, otherwise very, very encouraging. You think something has changed in the generation, or the way we react to certain emotions, sentiments?
See, I believe that in life, when you make a choice, then love it. No. When you make a hard choice, then why don't you love it? Why are you complaining? You made a choice, but you have a choice not to make that choice. You've chosen to play, right? Then enjoy the play. Let money flow. But why are you complaining when you made a choice to play? You made a choice to work very hard. Then stop complaining. Go enjoy the hard work. So if you have a complaint, then don't work hard, then choose something else. So love the hard work. Love the sport. Love the choice you make. You have a choice not to make the choice. Then get out of the choice. That's exactly what he said. Yes. You have a choice to get out of a choice. And he's right. We were also playing for the love of play. Like he said, he was playing for the love of play because there was a passion to play. We were also playing and working very hard, and we never complained. We never complained. We got just a small cup full of cups, small trophies. Never even got the third-class fare sometimes. The organizers would even cheat us on our third-class fare. So we had to spend out of our own pockets, but we still played.
Yeah.
Things have changed. I understand that. What matters today is very different, but everybody has a right to their choices. But I say enjoy the choice. I'm also for enjoy the choice. Why complain? Enjoy the hostility. Why complain? You've chosen to be in those shoes. joy. Why are you complaining? Oh, they're hostile, they're hostile. Oh, they had to be because you're doing it. So you relish the integrity with which you're working. Be proud of it. Enjoy it. Relish it, because you made them uncomfortable. That means you've achieved what you wanted to. So why complain? So I go along with Kapil on that.
Well, you have been the inspiration for many, Kiranji, but what is your inspiration?
All directions. I seek inspiration from all directions, wherever it's available. It's not one book, it's not one film, it's not one person, it's not one reading. It's the happy occasions. It's listening, it's watching. I think situations inspire me, and that's minute to minute food. So why should I restrict myself? But people who've been courageous, successful in life, who've done it for others, and who've done it by passion, by teamwork, by leading, they're all my inspiration. People who've given themselves for their life, the brave and the courageous, the intelligent people. So for me, inspiration comes from all professions and all possible positive situations. And I imbibe them on a day-to-day basis. I'm reading a small article, morning, a good quotation, which inspires me. It makes my day. So I don't have to wait. I think it's a minute to minute. You can derive it from all directions.
So, this will be a serious question, because I think we all feel very, very strongly about it. However, I'm not from Punjab, but I remember growing up, Punjab as a state was always, बड़े बड़े खेतों का बहुत ही सक्सेसफुल लहलहाता रिच स्टेट रहा है और साफ सुथरा, and that's how we remember growing up Punjab, produced amazing leaders, great army men, great sports people. And today, unfortunately, you hail from Punjab, and today it's known for one big problem, which is drug problem. It's very unfortunate. And recently I visited Punjab and I saw the state was very, very dirty. And, in fact, I was there when the election campaigning was happening, and, I was driving through Punjab and I could see the difference between two states is so dirty, and, it broke my heart. But at the same time, when we hear about this very, very unfortunate drug problem there. And you have done so much in this particular area when you were in your foundation, Navjyoti Foundation, and you come from that state. You think, you have something in your mind. How do you feel about it? Could you do something for your own state for this particular problem there?
I think Punjab, look, I know, having being from Amritsar myself, terrorism broke the back of the state.
Yeah.
It was the start of the terrorism. Terrorism across the border.
Yeah.
And across the border was Pakistan. Mm-hmm. That actually broke the back of Punjab completely. It ruined its business completely. And my family itself is a victim of terrorist, where business was lost. One of my brother-in-laws migrated. He lost his business. My husband's factory, he lost his farms in Gurdaspur. They just took them away. He lost his ancestral mangroves because of terrorism. So he one day became no more a landlord. And his factory was closed. He couldn't even go to his factory to work. So imagine economically, law and order wise, etc., peace and security, Punjab was a very heavy victim. First victim of partition, but it had recovered. But terrorism broke its back. And then came the drugs alongside, because this is the second wave. This was a narco-terrorism.
Yeah.
That broke its back further. It ruined a whole generation.
Yeah.
When heroin started to come across, and at that time, the borders were not sealed. Borders were very porous. And a lot of heroin came through those porous borders, which was big money. So which was, for some, though we created drug smugglers. And through drug smuggling, big money was earned. And that big money created political leadership of a dishonest kind.
Yeah.
See that? See, look at the vicious terrorism, narco-terrorism, and big money into society. You had the purchasing power, but negative purchasing power. So it threw up a negative leadership. It threw up all. So actually, thereafter, the whole youth generation, when you had no money, there was no industry, and this youth is looking for skills, and there's no skill. Colleges, factories are closed. Factories are closed. Where do you get a skill, right? And even the terrorism was even in the fields. Even in the fields, many farmers could not go into the fields because many of them were using these as hideouts. So even agriculture got affected. So I can trace it. Thereafter, the recovery has not been enough at all. Has not been. It's been very, very erratic. So the state has gone into a debt. It's just probably, I do not know whether it's already into a debt trap. So there's no money to recover. And the economy is gone. It's migrated out. The textiles, the machinery, the foundries, all is gone. And the youth, the same youth which was vibrant, energetic, get-go, valiant, is victims of drug abuse sometimes, or many of them. So Punjab has been, but it never recovered because it never got good governance after that.
Yes.
And whatever governance it got, Karishma, it was itself not clean.
Yeah.
And then it was controlled by power money of the drug smugglers sometimes. It's not yet recovered. And I do not know how it will be, because it needs very strong governance. But the elected representatives, they have to come on a common purpose to industrialize Punjab, develop Punjab. But then the whole culture of governance has altered.
Yeah.
This work culture is not for, the work culture is very, very confused, very confused. So Punjab has been a victim of the border because of its border. But first by partition, then from terrorism, then narco-terrorism. Very heavy beats, very heavy beating.
Isn't that unfortunate that, a person like you, personalities like you from Punjab, and who are doing such amazing work in that particular area, as far as I'm saying, through your foundation, Navjyoti India Foundation, and they are not utilizing your services or your experience in that particular, field of, handling the drug problem on the social level and even on the police level,
There has to be a passion for transformation. There has to be a passion for reform. Majority must go for passion for reform, passion for transformation. There has to be a vacuum. There has to be a hunger, a thirst to transform expeditiously. Moment there's a hunger and there's a want, you start looking for where is the solution.
Yeah. You think there's a lack of will?
It's not lack of will. Probably it's lack of janoon to transform. You need to have a janoon. I have to transform Punjab in the next 5 years. How? And then where everybody converges and there's an effort to bring people together, and people must trust their governance. At the moment, it's a culture of I give this. It's transactional. At the moment, it's a transactional culture. I give you this, you give me this. It's not we work together to change. It's I give you this, you give me this. I give you this, you give me this. It's transactional. It's not transformative. It's not a movement to recover. It's not a movement of recovery. It's a transactional culture. That's the reason.
So what are your thoughts on achievements and challenges of India as a nation, and your thoughts on addressing some of the immediate challenges that we face today?
I think India's population is becoming a demographic dividend because of the spread of information technology education across the length and breadth of India. More and more transparency coming on because of digital revolution. So India has had huge recovery last few years, and that's why we are the 5th largest economy already in the world, better than UK today. But because of these digitization, manufacturing revolution, startups coming up, innovation coming up, pharmaceutical, we're becoming the pharmacy of the world. Jan Dhan accounts, the Government of India policies, the schemes which are coming up. I've implemented many of those schemes in Puducherry, which were all financed. The way they handled COVID, the way they came up with the vaccination. I think India at the moment, despite all its challenges, is on the trajectory for growth. Despite all these handicaps, it is on the trajectory for growth. And every day, very huge investments are being made in infrastructure, airports, highways, railways, paperless work, computerization. I think just it's moving towards greater and greater transparency, by which the corruption levels will come under control, are coming under control. More GST, the GST, where the income to the government now is on the surface, where it's a source reductions now. So the income to the government, incomes to the government of India are increasing by the year. So I think everybody on the Aadhaar account, everybody gets an identity card. So many things have evolved, and there's an ease of doing business. Every day new problems are being sought to resolve. Every day, if you look at the Government of India announcements, every day there's a new resolution. And many more IMMs have opened up, medical colleges have opened up, IITs have come up, ITIs have coming up. I think you will see in India, I believe, if we continue with this positive, sustainable, progressive trajectory, agriculture, even in agriculture, now they're going in for incentivizing organic manuring to replace the chemicals. Very big. So these are all, some have started, some have grown, some are flourishing already, but the kind of investments which are being made will pay dividends. You will see in the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. I do see, while the world is, as IMF said, is moving towards recession next year, India continues to be a bright spot, as the IMF is saying. Continues to be the bright spot. They're saying that, because of the policies and the investments which the Government of India is continuing to make in infrastructure, and are also encouraging innovation, patenting, startups, and also easy money, easy loans available from various financial incentive schemes like Mudra scheme. There's a scheme, and the skill development. Even I think the challenge before India at the moment, to my mind, is it's lagging behind providing the right skills for the jobs which are waiting. That's a lag. And now with the new education policy, where skill development will be an integral part of the 9th standard, 10th standard, you will see the results coming in 3-4 years. But you see, there's a lag. So skill development is the challenge, where you get the right managers, the right people with the right tools. So that's a challenge, which the employment generation. That's why government is heavily investing into manufacturing, so that more and more job employment generation happens. So I think it's a skill gap. It's not the skill, it's a skill gap. While the IITs are emerging, every day I've seen IITs of India are coming up with something new. The other day, probably IIT Madras, they've come up with already an artificial heart.
Kanpur, IIT Kanpur.
IIT Kanpur. Yes. IIT Kanpur that's Ritnesh's IIT. IIT Kanpur, he's proud of it. He's a product of that. So IIT Kanpur has come up with an artificial heart. In 2-3 years, they'll come with a cost-effective artificial heart to be replaced. What would cost 1 crore rupees overseas will cost you a few lakhs only here. So IITs are now competing with each other to come up with innovations.
So you talked about the national policy and the national challenges. Do you see any global challenges as well? And how do we, what are some ways to make headway with those challenges that you see?
I think I see immediately 2 global challenges as a close observer. One is the climate change. That will be the biggest, because you have no control, because whatever is happening on the Pacific Ocean or the Indian Ocean doesn't spare any country, or the Atlantic, because the way the oceans are heating up, the way ecosystem of the I think it's getting hit. To my mind, that's the climate change is everybody's concern, but becoming who takes the lead, who sacrifices the current situation, because there are sacrifices. The need for more solar energy, the need for more electrification, etc., need to be fast forwarded. The greater use of solar energy and the less use of fossil fuels is absolutely essential. That is where the maximum investments need to be made. But it's time intensive. Then comes the water issue, water, agriculture, the food production. These are the challenges. And also the wars which are going on. I think the war in Ukraine is costing everybody heavily. It's hit. That's the biggest reason for United Kingdom's crisis.
Yeah.
So Ukraine has hit Europe very badly, particularly the energy crisis, because the kind of energy, the kind of resources which are going there. So this war has been, COVID had hit us very badly. Earlier you had a COVID and then it's a double whammy. After COVID, you have the Ukraine, which has been a crisis. You see, the world has become a global village as well. So look, the entire energy supply was coming from Russia, so much of most of these European countries. When that got hit or became expensive, it's hurt their economy after COVID. So COVID followed by Ukraine war has been a double whammy for the worldwide economy. India has somehow survived it, somehow neutralized it by walking its own path, by strong political leadership. India today has very clear-headed, visionary, strong, ethical political leadership. Today, India is very blessed. It's got clear-headed, visionary political leadership. That's where we've got saved.
Yeah.
And it has a good government which is running as a team. The bureaucrats are being made to deliver, made more accountable. So I think those central policies, and some states are also driving the change. Some states are also very well run. So it's happening. Uttar Pradesh, the security quotient has gone up.
Yeah.
So I think these are the brighter areas which are protecting this country.
That was my second question, but you answered already. I wanted to ask you, how do you rate the present government handling those global challenges? But you already answered it. And now about your new book. You've written previous books and they're always loved and cherished. And this one is Fearless Governance. And so what insights and messages?
This is the book you're talking about.
Yes, yes. So what insights and messages it offers to its readers, and who should read it and why?
I'll read out what Indira Nooyi said about this book.
Yeah.
She said fearless governance is a blueprint for good and effective governance. The leadership practices cut across public and private sectors. That's what she said when she released this book. I think her saying it all, it's a blueprint, it's a fact. It's got leadership practices which can work anywhere, in any sector. Whoever wants more out of who wants to be more productive, whoever wishes to be more productive needs these ideas in the book. Some ideas will apply right there. Whoever wishes to be more productive at work, personally, professionally.
Great. I can't wait to read this. Definitely. I would love to read it, Kiranji. Before I say thank you to you, I have so many questions, but I know we have limited time. But I want your message for my Radio Karishma listeners. And also, I would like to ask you, are you done with the politics, or you would still consider dabbling in it?
No electoral politics for me, ever.
Any messages for Radio Karishma listeners?
Please keep going strong. I'm going to start listening to you too, to entertain. As Ratnesh said, you come up with so much of a brilliant versatility. I want to listen to you. So I'll hear you now hereafter say. So keep going strong, because I'll be listening to you.
And my listeners, what do they get as their last message from Kiran Bedi?
Have a great year ahead. Think ahead. Be a giver. Plan what will you give to the other, because we are all haves. We've all become haves. So let's reach out to the have-nots in any way, in whatever way you have. So plan your giving quotient for the year to 2023. Say, I'm going to do this for this. So if it's an Indian, link yourself with a village, a pond, a school, anything which, if you're an Indian, listening to me, then go back, find out where your school, or link yourself with any NGO which may be acting as a bridge for you to reach. So Indians in the West are all haves. We can work, maybe skill development, provide a scholarship to develop the skill of a particular person, that one person can get skilled another year and starts being an entrepreneur. So I think let this the year for overseas Indians in 2023 be a year of giving, empowering India and Indians so that they can fast forward in their economy and be highly productive, so that they become providers and entrepreneurs. It's not job employment, it's entrepreneurship generation. So skilled hands means more entrepreneurship. Once they're entrepreneur, there will be capital available from the government. So therefore, there is a root to this. So I would say the Indian generation, the Indians overseas, NRIs, find out can they link themselves with the cause, small or big, doesn't matter. But it will all add up to be plenty in the end, when millions of non-resident Indians overseas are all well-placed. They all have something surplus. In kind, in skill, or cash, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I've been telling this, please pick up research and agriculture and come to India. I've been telling him, come and now give back to India. Been telling him, come link yourself with Pusa Institute and others. Come and give back all your research and valuable to India. I've been telling him, I was telling him, that's what is giving. He doesn't need to give money. He can give us skill, his knowledge.
Yeah, I remember your message very well. And in fact, recently, Des Moines hosted World Food Prize event. And we had agriculture scientists from India. In fact, this year's field awardee, Borlaug Field awardee, he is from Hyderabad, and Govindraj. And so, and he graduated from Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, and their vice chancellor was here. It's the first woman vice chancellor they got, Dr. Geeta Lakshmi. So we had an interaction, and we are going to develop a joint, a degree program between Iowa State and Tamil Nadu Agriculture University. And that was basically following on your instructions, as I say. So this is something what you motivated me to do, and the opportunity just came up. And in that meeting, our president was there, and our dean for agriculture college was there. So immediately I was able to introduce each one of them. And then emails followed, and we are now working together. And I will inform you when that culminates into something like that. And not just Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, other agriculture universities you have mentioned. So definitely I will follow up as and when the opportunities come up. So thanks for inspiring.
Thank you so much, Rajneesh.
Kiranji, you have converted one person at least already. So I'm sure after listening this interview, many converts will be there. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure and honor talking to you. And I cannot describe my experience in words, but all I can say from bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your precious time and your precious words. And thank you for being you, as always. And it has inspired me and my generation, and many upcoming generations. You will inspire them as well.
You said the word being you. I'll tell you a very interesting story which God told a person. When a person went up to the heavens and saying, yelled out to heavens and saying, God, you send me to such a dirty world. It's polluted, it's corrupted, it's lying, etc. He says, then why did I send you? I already sent you to be a better you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ratnesh ji, for making this happen. And it's always a pleasure talking to you, discussing with you, learning every day new things from you as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Ratnesh. All the best.
Yeah. So let's thank Kiran ji for taking this time and blessing us again. This is the second time in just within a month. So that's so nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We met at the Iowa Hindu temple for the first time. That was less than a month ago, or maybe about a month ago. So
yeah,
it heavy duty. Yeah, multiple.
See, it started spiritually right. Temple meeting.
Right.
I believe in that totally.
Well, nice meeting you. Yeah.
Nice.
So a good morning to you, and it's a good night for me.
Yeah, good.